So I wanted to do a video for a couple of reasons here. Um, One, to maybe help some guys with their future builds and from making mistakes, and two, just to give proper recognition where it's truly deserved, and that is without Brett Miller, there is no competitive small block Mopar. I mean, there's no, in my opinion, that's your argument. This, without Brett Miller, and he does have a supporting cast that help him, but there is no competitive small block Mopar. He works with Harshman Automotive closely. Jeremy and Randy. Jeremy, real talented young guy, does the CNC type work, and then Randy, runs the machine shop, and I think does most of the machining. So they help bring Brett's ideas to reality and market, and then I really can't leave out Kent Ritter. Brett works with Kent on multiple things. Again, Kent brings a lot of stuff to a market that is needed to keep these engines alive and going. And Brett and Kent work on projects behind the scenes, just due to Kent having certain contacts and stuff of that nature. So there is a supporting cast, and there's probably other guys too, but those are the two that I distinctly know about. So if I left someone out, I'm sorry. But I mean, just the products that, like I said, him and Harshman Automotive have worked together with on to make these small block Mopars run at the top with anybody, okay, and is just incredible. I mean, we have these, of course I got my spark plug wires going over the top of them, but these beautiful billet valve covers. I mean, these things are just gorgeous. They have kind of a, whether you got a W8 or W9, they're kind of engraved there on the end. They have his like his I don't know what you want to call it, his insignia on it, his logo. They look beautiful, anodized black. Then he come out with his own line of intake manifolds. Now I say line. I guess he's only made one. I think he might be working on another one in the background of a little bit different configuration. But anyway, just an incredible piece. An incredible accomplishment for a guy that he has a regular job. I mean, he does all this stuff after a 40, 45 hour, however many hours a week that he works after his regular job. He has a family, on top of that, wife and a son. And, he developed this intake manifold. I don't know, it's probably been what, maybe, 4 or 5 years ago. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. But, just an incredible piece. And there's been guys that have kind of copied it or, simulated it since. But this was a game changer. I mean, he was telling me one time, Brett was, that he sells almost as many, or maybe it's more, of these intakes to Chevy racers, high-end, NA, big power type stuff, and I'm sure not all of it's NA. Maybe there's some nitrous guys and whatnot too, but and they'll actually cut the flanges off and then have some, flanges made, maybe CNC'd or whatever, and have them welded on to fit their, their Chevrolet head, and then they'll just blend it and pour it in. But that just goes to show you how incredible and the huge potential of an intake that this was. I mean, Chevrolet is a huge market, and there was nothing better than, on the market that Chevrolet itself or their supporting vendors had come out with, until Brett come out with his own intake. And like I said, there's been some other guys that have popped up and put out some pretty big intakes since then. But as far as I know, Brett was the first one to do it. Just an incredible feat. Again, considering that he does everything he does for the small block Mopar community as a secondary gig. I mean, after hours, weekends. I mean, the dedication and passion that this guy has for putting small block Mopar to the front is incredible. I mean, it's just incredible. And lots of people already know this. I mean, lots of guys on Facebook that have either had engines built by him or have friends that, race, or those guys that do race. They already know. I mean, I'm not really telling them anything new. This is really a lot for, my viewers and stuff on YouTube. And, like I said, just sometimes, props need to be given where they're rightfully due. And we would be stuck with mid 700 horsepower type engines without Brett Miller, okay? And his, like I said, there is a supporting cast, okay? I mean, it takes a team, but he's the one that comes up with the ideas, most of them. He's the one that spearheads a lot of these things, keeps the push and drive going as much. Maybe might be a pain in the ass to some other people, but that's just his drive and passion. This guy works like till 11 o'clock would be an early night, midnight, 1 in the morning. I mean, when 99% of the rest of the population is sleeping, he's grinding on heads, grinding on intakes, coming up with new things to develop, building engines. It's just incredible. He's just an absolute monster when it comes to a work ethic. And there's only been, I can only think of one guy that actually dogged him on Facebook. I think his name was Steven or something. I can't remember his last name. That's how unimportant this loser was. But when I saw that, I was like, whoa. Yeah, we're not gonna stand by and let that happen. So I had to get in and check his ass. But like I said, he's so unimportant. I don't even remember what his last name was. But aside from that, everybody else, I think, just has the utmost respect, especially in the Mopar community, because that's primarily what he deals with. Small block Mopar. That's his meat and potatoes. That's his love. That's his passion. Has he done other things? Yeah. I think he's worked on I think he's done a Gen 2 Hemi, or maybe a couple of them, done some work on them, upgraded, modified. I know he's done a little bit of Gen 3 Hemi stuff, doesn't like it, but, some that I think is for friends of his. And I do believe, I think he's even developed a cylinder head port program for the Gen 3 Hemi head. If I'm not mistaken. Like I said, I don't follow that. I don't like that platform. But anyway, his love and passion is the small block Mopar, period. But he does get his hands dirty in other things sometimes. But So, you know, he come out with the valve covers, which are gorgeous for the, you know, W8s and W9s. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's guys that probably would like them for an Edelbrock head or something like that, but, you know, you'd probably complain about the price. So these are billet aluminum. I mean, they're just gorgeous. And then let's not forget the billet block that he did for Mike. Oh boy, I'm not even sure if I want to attempt his name. I'm probably just going to destroy it. Krasinski, or I should probably just apologize, and because I'm sure I just like absolutely butchered the last name. I don't know the guy personally. He is actually from where I was raised, upstate New York, but it was in like a early 70s Dart. You'd have to go online, look at on Facebook, Brett Miller and the billet block that him and Harshman Automotive designed and built for this guy, a custom one-off piece. I think maybe there might be, you know, a few more maybe in the works, possibly behind the scenes, but I don't want to speak on that because I don't really know. But you know, think about that. You know, from scratch, you know, built a billet aluminum block from ground up, from scratch. I don't know how many hours that they probably had in that thing. It just probably makes them sick, actually. But what an accomplishment. They also do, Brett and Harshman's, they do the Valley plate covers in a nice billet aluminum. My engine does not currently have that plate. They didn't have it back when I had this engine. But on my new W9 motor that he's doing, it is going to have that plate, and it'll have his intake and valve covers and everything. But you know, like I said, I talked to him last night. Actually, he gave me a call, and he's like, I see you were out, I don't remember his exact word. He had a word for it, but basically pounding on the Barracuda. And I was like, yeah, you know, I took it around the block. There's some guys that kind of wanted to see it, and they kind of wanted to know more about, you know, the Brett Miller engine, because let's face it, it's impressive. Okay, it's very impressive. And you know, I'm just going to say it again. Without Brett Miller and his, you know, supporting cast of guys that he works with, you know, there is no badass small block Mopar. Okay, there is none. So this guy deserves huge props, huge respect, and the fact that he does it as a secondary thing. I mean, that in itself deserves massive, massive, massive respect. I don't know how many guys want to work all day long, come home, eat, you know, spend a little time with family, and then go out in the garage and work, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 hours after work every single night. I mean, this guy does this every single night, weekends. I mean, the dedication is just unmatched, okay? And in my opinion, Brett Miller is Mr. Small Block Mopar, okay? He is Mr. Small Block Mopar. There is no Small Block Mopar anymore where you can brag about it, where you can talk smack with the Ford and Chevy guys, you know what I mean? Like, you can walk in and you're, you know, like you got cannonballs, you know, like dangling down in between your legs, you know what I mean? It's like clank, clank, you know, when you walk type deal, you know, I mean, because those guys got tons of aftermarket support, you know, the Ford and Chevy camp. But Brett Miller allows us, you know, not really so much me. I mean, I have a pig of a car, it's heavy. But, you know, guys that are actually, you know, doing serious heads-up racing and stuff of that nature, or no prep racing or grudge racing, you know, he allows us to walk in with confidence and pride and be able to talk a bunch of shit, okay? And that's kind of nice. But as we were talking last night, I had another guy, he has a YouTube channel, and he had mentioned to me, super nice guy, that one of his friends was looking at like a R1 W8 combo at Carlisle, but for whatever the reason was, we didn't talk a lot about it, but it just wasn't what he was exactly looking for. And I was like, well, I'll be honest with you, before your friend buys anything, he should contact Brett before they buy anything, explain to him what his goals are, what he's trying to accomplish, and and then let Brett, maybe he may have ideas on parts. Brett knows where a lot of parts are. He may have ideas on things that you can just buy through him, or at the very least, you should always, especially in these W8, W9 stuff, Brett's kind of educated me on there's a lot of like funky castings, weird stuff, goofy modified. I mean, these things were in, NASCAR and sprint cars. And so there's some stuff that's kind of obsolete, not easy to get some parts to work with, or a inherently bad casting. And I was just like, your friend should run anything he's interested in by Brett first and say, hey, is this a good casting? Is this a, are these heads any good? Is this block good? Because there's just a lot of different variables in this stuff that I didn't know. And like I said, now when I see anything for sale online and I'm just unsure about it, but it's something I might be interested in, I always just send Brett the link or whatever and say, hey, is this any good? Or, will this work for me? And he'll be like, yep, that's really good stuff, go ahead and buy it. Or no, that stuff is junk, bad casting. You can't get, cam cores for that cam tunnel and that block. You can't get any more, pain in the ass. I mean, basically, he saves me a lot of grief. Okay. And so, and this whole philosophy really would go with any build. If you're just not intimately like you are, like very, very, very knowledgeable, very intimate with what combination that you're building, you should ask somebody that is ahead of time before you go buying parts. I mean, I've made mistakes with some of my stuff. I mean, even on the Belvedere engine, I should have left those heads. I really should have left those heads alone. When they were stage 3 CNC ported from an Indy. That was really where those heads were happy at. That was kind of the what really just should have been the scope of those heads. But instead, I did not know, and I went and had a lot of work done on them, spent a lot of money on them, and also the intake. And the intake is gorgeous. The intake's awesome. The heads are awesome, outside of the fact that they've been modified to the extreme. And I'm just not going to get into details, but as long as nothing happens, with that engine, or there's a failure somewhere, with the cylinder head, then the life is great, because the engine makes a ton of power for what it is, but it's not the kind of head that I could just sell to somebody and they could slap on their engine. It's really been worked over. And, looking back on it, that was a mistake on my part. I should have just left that alone the way it was and stepped up to a W8, W9 if I wanted more power. But, live and learn. And we talked a little bit about this stuff last night, and he has a lot of stories, obviously, because a lot of guys approach him about building engines or having him do some work and this and that. And, there's, like I said, he has stories. So, ask ahead of time, guys. You can save yourself a lot of money and a lot of grief on the backside, because not everything is going to work for what you want to do. Some parts and castings just aren't good. I should also mention that Brett does his own camshaft profiles. designs and designs his own camshafts, specs for his motors. I mean, typically, when you see someone else's W8, W9 motor that Brett did not have a part in, and I'm not saying everybody, I'm just saying typically, okay? And I'm just basing this off of, when the guys post, W8, W9 motors up on Facebook, and when they dyno them and stuff, they typically come in the mid 7s to, I don't know how many mid 800 range motors that you see. Typically they come in probably mid to high 7s, maybe low 800 range. That's when Brett's not involved. When Brett is involved, now you're going to see mid 900 to, in some instances, I think he crowds or even bumps 1100. But, probably, I think a lot of the majority of his stuff is probably high 900 to, into pushing into the 1050-ish range, would probably be where the vast majority of a lot of his engines fall in at. So huge difference. I mean, huge difference in power. And, a lot of it is, they don't, he has, I think, 2 or maybe he has 3 different stages for his heads, porting levels for his W8s, W9s. Again, I don't know all his intimate details, so I don't want to speak on it because I just don't know. We are friends, and I'm very happy to call him a friend. We speak on a pretty regular basis. I mean, when he builds an engine for you, you get the pleasure of him sending you like 37 pictures at midnight or 11:30 at night. Your phone starts blowing up with pictures from when he got done for the night with the progress. So that's always fun. But at least he, but at least he does, very open and transparent about what he's doing. Very fair. Both him and Harshman's very fair, very honest, good people, conservatives. That may not mean something to everybody, but it means something to me. Good family people, just all around good people. Okay, like for me, if there was a Mopar engine builder and he was a flaming retard liberal, I just could not bring myself to do business with him. Okay, just out of principle. And so it's nice that both him and Harshman's are very conservative, great, very, just all around, just great Americans, great family people, very fair, very honest. And I really just can't say enough about it. And like I said, I just felt that, I just do this video just to say, I mean, like I said, without Brett Miller and his supporting cast, but Brett really is Brett really spearheads and keeps the fire. He's always looking for more power and always thinking about different ways to do things. And it wouldn't surprise me maybe if he doesn't even come up with his own cylinder head, in the next year or two. But me, I'm a small block Mopar guy. I mean, that's it starts and dies there. I do like the look of a Gen 2 Hemi. In some cars, I'm not gonna get you wrong or tell you indifferently, but I've never had one, never worked on one, never even been in one. So, but I do like the look of them. But this is just art right here. I mean, and some of it is it's just dollied up. I mean, and another thing is, Brett has us small block Mopar guys, we're a very small community. When you look at the grand scope of things, we have guys like Torrey Schellehammer with STR Fabrications that does the really nice race weight. You can't really see a lot of it, but front suspensions for the A bodies. I mean, I wish he would do other ones. But again, you know, he has a full-time job. He does all this stuff on the side too. So he does headers, race car fabrication, chassis work, these front suspensions. He's the one that designed and had, I think, water jetted. I'm not sure, CNC or water jetted or whatever. These motor plates for these engines. He does headers for the W8, W9 stuff, and other engines. I mean, he, you know, if you follow him on Facebook, he does, you know, other engines too. You know, Ford and Chevy stuff will come in his shop. You know, probably friends of his or you know, referrals or whatever. But the headers were built by him. They're very, very nice. I'd like a set of stainless steel ones. Well, I have a set of stainless steel ones, but I don't want to talk about that. That was a mistake on my part, not listening to him, and so I got to have those worked over a little bit. But you know, there's other guys involved too that, you know, keep the A body small block Mopar to where it's crazy competitive. You know, to where, I mean, you can, it's just, I don't know, it's just it's hard to explain. I mean, you know, we get talked a lot of shit about, you know, the Ford and Chevy guys, and then, you know, when you have guys that have stepped up and given us these type parts and products and support and knowledge that, you know, help us run at the front, you know, I mean, it's an awesome feeling. It really is. And another thing is too, I want to show you these guys. So I don't know if you can see that. So the West Coast NA 10.5 class, they race out of California. I think they'll go to like, you know, Vegas and, you know, some surrounding areas if there's some pretty good races going on. But these guys are like grassroots NA small tire heads up. Now granted, you know, you always had, you know, for I don't know how many years, a while now, I'm guessing, you know, NMCA, you know, NA 10.5. And, you know, they're probably, without, you know, argument, the pinnacle of it all. But you know, maybe that was the inspiration for this class. I really don't know. But these guys are really impressive, very close-knit group, great guys. You can follow them on Facebook, West Coast NA 10.5, Shiloh Davies, I think he was one of the founders of it. He has a Brett Miller W8 motor in that. Brett's done a lot of work on that motor. That car typically runs at the front. There's some other cars that are pretty strong in that class. Kirk Bouchard has a pretty strong Fox body Mustang. But Shiloh historically runs up at the front with his 68 Dart, really nice Dart, super nice guy. And the thing of it is, those guys help each other. You know, even though they're in competition with each other, they help each other's cars get better and faster, you know, which is overall just better for, you know, that's better for their class. I really wish we had like a small tire NA heads up class out here in the Midwest, even though my cars are too heavy. They wouldn't be able to compete at the front without, you know, losing some weight. But anyhow, I really like this class. And again, like I said, Brett has some influence in this class too, primarily with, like I said, Shiloh Davies' W8 motor. I think he's done some other things with some other guys and stuff, but again, I don't really want to speak out of turn when I really don't know. But anyhow, I'm going to wrap it up. I just wanted to, you know, let you guys know, you know, who you can thank, where the respect should be given. It's Brett Miller, okay? All you small block Mopar guys, and you know, maybe some of you guys don't have W8, W9 motors yet, but, you know, typically, it's kind of a sickness, and we all end up wanting to go faster and this and that, and maybe a year or two down the road, maybe that's the direction you want to go. Well, I'm just telling you right now, you need to get in touch with Brett Miller first and let him, you know, guide you through the whole process, and you'll end up with a badass piece. Great guy to work with. Like I said, lucky to be able to call him a friend, and all his supporting cast, you know, whether it's Kent Ritter or Harshman Automotive, you know, Tori. They're all super nice guys, great to work with. Never had any issues with any of them. And I just wanted to pass this information along. So in my opinion, Brett Miller, Mr. Small Block Mopar, okay? Hands down, no discussion, no argument, not my opinion. Brett Miller is Mr. Small Block Mopar. Thank you.